Welcome, y'all. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the new subscribers. If you're here, um, I wanted to talk about this video before the day ends. Let me just, cause I always get so tongue tied in these videos. So my apologies. I'm not really good with talking on camera. So I'm trying to be better at this as I go along. But to welcome to the new subscribers to my channel, and welcome back to the ones that's already been here before. Um, like, comment, share, subscribe. So today I want to talk. Not today. Well, this evening I want to talk about disrespectful children. And the reason why I want to talk about disrespectful children is because these kids have lost their dignity as a child, and even grown up into an adult, to be respectful. I was always taught since I was a child to respect my mother and my father regardless of the circumstance, because that's just how it went. You know what I'm saying? And although I didn't have the expertise like they or know what they know, they teach you into being a solid, civil young human being, right? And so for me, I don't, regardless if I'm grown or not, I don't disrespect my mom or disrespect my pops, only because I'm not ever bigger than them as far as them basically creating me into this planet. And so I don't even cuss around my mom, you know, at 43 years old. I just don't, because I never have, and I won't ever will. And I feel like it's very disrespectful, with kids that was raised that listen to their parents, and then at a certain age, they feel like because they're grown, they can be disrespectful. And you could say that, oh well, it's what the parents allow and this and that, but still, if the parent has raised that child to the best of their ability of what they know, that doesn't give that kid the right, or that young adult the right, to disrespect them. And so, I just never understood that children in this generation think that way. They really feel like they don't have to take no direction from anybody, right? On just making mistakes and costing themselves either their life or going to jail, going to prison for a long time. And it seems like the more and more that you try to school these youngsters, they don't conform at all. They feel like you know getting a gun and upping it up on somebody and threatening to kill them is a new wave. You know, yeah, the parents. You may not always agree with what they say, and you have your own opinion, because obviously you are a human being, and you have thoughts and opinions like everybody else. But I just don't think it's cool to go overboard with the parents. You know, if you're gonna say something, yeah, there's a way of conducting yourself in a certain particular manner to talk to your parents about some of the things you don't like. But to be disrespectful and start cussing them out and calling them all kind of bitches and hoes, that's shit that you can't even come back from. Because I feel like if you say this to the parents and continuously keep saying it, if nothing goes your way and you be disrespectful, then you never was respectful to begin with. And so them kind of people, I don't tolerate in my space. And if I do have to tolerate them in my space, I tune their ass out. Because knowing me, I'm going to get physical. And, you know, I come in peace at all costs for anything that I do in this life. Whether it's, me talking about stuff in my past videos I've been talking about, yeah, I still have a way of being respectful because therefore I don't want to go to jail. I've been to jail before and it ain't fun. Off of something, that I decided to do without having any repercussions about doing it because of just, me acting out. I think about what I have to say very thoughtful and very carefully. It may come out the wrong, fucked up way because I'm not really good with talking and articulating myself in such a manner to where uh, it comes out fluently. I'm always stumbling over my words and shit like that. And so with these kids, I feel like their articulation, with these devices and shit that's been brought up to them, you know, they become more of the parents than the parents are. And obviously, I can't blame as just say it's the parents individually, because it's the digital age. So even if you restrict a kid from having devices, and at some point in time when they get older to get on it, it's going to end up changing their perspective of how they feel about how the world is. And me, you know, thankfully I wasn't raised in the digital age, and so I didn't have to endure all that. Like I had to. Outside was my fun. Having friends was my fun. Going out to parks, going to the movies, talking to girls was my fun. Playing outside to the street lights come on. That was my fun. You know, we always was outside. We wasn't never really inside the house. We feel like being trapped in the house was like a prison. You know, then today's world, everything that's being laid out to you, you could be fine with being in the house and not ever going out because there's no community anymore. But back to what I was saying about the disrespectful ass kids. Um, I just don't like that shit, man. I don't like it because, you know, although you don't have to answer to anybody, right, until you get of a certain age, but as you get older, you do have to answer to somebody. And then even when you do get to a certain age, or even become an adult, even if you don't answer to somebody, you hear people's perspective. But what I don't like is the blatant total fucking disrespect. Like you can understand, like you pretty much can control somebody's moods on how on what you do and how you do it and what you say to folks. As for me, luckily that I'm a person that you have to dig deep in my skin to really get me rattled. Because a lot of shit that people say, yeah, I don't really care. I mean, yeah, I may talk about it to them, but I don't really give a damn because you're not altering my life as far as trying to hurt me, cause me bodily harm. If you was causing me bodily harm, that's different, right? Um, with kids, yeah, of course, the power of words, the choices that they make, what they say at their mouth. Yeah, it shouldn't hold, it shouldn't hold no weight, but it does because, the power of the tongue is so strong, man. It's so strong. And most people who deal, with the power of the tongue and what they say to people, uh, it, it, there's emotions that come out of it. People attach emotions to the words that people say. And, some words you just say, it's like you don't say without a care in the fucking world. You just say it. And it's fucked up because you don't know what the repercussions is to who you're saying it to. But just saying it to parents is just blatantly disrespectful by any means. By any means. I mean, the shit is just so crazy to me. Like, again, you don't have to agree with what they always say. But to be like, oh well, in this competition, like, oh, my word means more than what the hell you just said to me. Nah, man. I was I was raised on strict morals and ethics, and disrespecting my parents is not one of them. I don't care what people will say about how I'm not reacting to a certain situation because I don't because somebody says something to me foul. I had my nephews talk crazy and talk foul about me, like real bad. Like I'm not an uncle or none of that shit. And it hurted me because you know because they grown and they feel like they don't have to respect nobody. And it really hurted me because it's like, it's like a chain of command that goes down. Although you don't have to honor it, it just still goes down. Just passed down. Something that you don't disregard, even regardless of if you have to question how this stuff works. You still just don't do it. And it's just wild, man. Like, it's really wild to me that people, when they get of a certain age, the disrespectfulness, man, is over the fucking top. And it bugs the shit out of me, man, because it makes me want to do something to these motherfuckers, man. But I don't, because I have self-control. And if I didn't, I'll be in prison for a long ass time based off what somebody said to me. And so I have to refrain from just, you know what I'm saying? Like, taking what they say and just let it stir in my soul. Like, I have to just control that. But it's hard to do that because, for the simple fact, it's the derogatories and how they say it in the delivery. Like, it's man. It's just so fucking cold to me. Like, when you be disrespectful like that, you can't come back from that shit, man. You just cannot come back from it. But these motherfuckers do it today. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the OGs, I had to respect back in the day. Or I would say I had to respect, but there was like outside of my mom taking care of me, because my father was in prison most of my life. The OGs out on the block would be my parents if my mom wasn't around. So I used to sit down and like to pick their brain and listen to what they had to say. But I was never disrespectful. Ever. Regardless of what they did to me, and be like, man, get out of here, kid, scram. Here's $5. I'd be like, in my mind as a kid, I'm like, man, I want to be around you. I want that $5. But still, I never was being disrespectful. And if I did, I wasn't nowhere around their presence to where I was being disrespectful at, because we just didn't do that shit back in the day. But again, these kids today do it. And even, like I said, even kids is born in 1992, 3, 4, and 5. Like, you come from somewhat of that age back from kids that's born in the 80s. You take, if you don't take everything, you take some stuff to not be disrespectful, but they just still do it, man. Like, it just really boggles my fucking mind, bro. Like, it really do. Like, it just completely crazy to me, man. And so, I just don't like it, man. I had to come on here and talk to y'all about that. Like, I just don't like that shit, man. And, when you come at me, you got to come correct, man. And if you do, I might spare your ass because, you know what I'm saying, I don't want to go there with you. But, be respectful when you approach people, man. The only time I need to get physical or get crazy is if that person is talking about hurting you physically. Have some dignity about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like these crazy ass kids, man. Of today. Whatever you was born taught, by your parents and whatever they knew, because they knew no better from their parents. But whatever it is, something stuck to you, something resonated in some kind of way. So just stick to that, y'all. And if the kids get disrespectful at a certain point, man, get rid of their ass, man. Get rid of their ass, or if you can't get rid of them, you don't partake in being nothing that they be into, because you know for a fact that shit can cause an issue. So you just stay away from it. And so, yeah, with that being said, that's all I got, guys. One thing to know is just be diligent in what you do. Question everything, but just take some of the things that you've taken from your childhood and apply it to your life. And continue, I would say apply, but continue to apply it to your life, because it gets you far. And so that's it, y'all. I'm gone. I got nothing else. Until next video, I'm out.